Yo, it's your boy OG Kenny, O_G_Kenny, retired from the streets TV. And listen, I did my best to recreate the look and the feeling of this upcoming video because for some reason I lost like some of the original first portion of it. What's going to go on in this story that's coming up, I'm detailing a situation that happened when I got the GR Cotton facility and I was no longer a dignitary, but I had got back to the level of just being a regular foot soldier or paladin. I was being security for a legend, really, in the streets and in prison, by the name of Ivy Skip Murder Bowen. And anybody that know Skip Murder and know the legacy of Ivy Bowen in Leatherwood Bay, I'm gonna tell their story in detail at a later date, but they end up getting incarcerated in 1975 or 76. You understand? So when I met Skip Murder, this was 1998, and I had got called to put some work in on the yard, and Skip, being a dignitary, a higher up dignitary, knew nothing about this. And I'm talking about in this particular story how it's important not to put batteries in young brothers' backs and not to influence young brothers to do things that you probably wouldn't have done. My phone going off and everything, so I'm moving on the fly today. So I'm trying to get y'all this story. So coming up next is that story about how I almost threw my life away in prison. OG Kenny. And you got to think, this dude had been, when he asked me how old I was, and I told him, he said, man, I've been locked up your whole life. And I'm like, damn. I couldn't fathom or even imagine the thought of somebody who'd been incarcerated my whole entire existence. Everything I've ever known, everything I've ever done is all encompassed in these 20-something years, and this dude has been incarcerated the entire time. So I understood, excuse me, get a little water. So I understood, like, with what happened next. The reason why I say I would never I would never speak on the names of the brothers involved in this because, like I said, I forgave them. I know that my dude Skip didn't have nothing to do with that. He didn't give a say so into what I'm about to explain to y'all. It was a test I was put through. And not just a test, it was part of what I was taught to believe was you sticking to your oath and your pledges, right? And as men, that's all we got is our word. If you say you about something, be about that, right? If you say you're going to be there, be there. If you say you're going to be stand up, upright, do that. So at the time, you got to think also, Skip was in an executive position on the legislative side. So when it came to security issues, spiritual and legislative on an executive level didn't mix with security. Security had their own way of handling things that was also still governed by our laws and our bylaws. However, right, you got to understand we're dealing with some individuals, some of them who have been down their probably entire adult life. Some of them been down 30 years. Some of them have been down a long time, right? So I understood what was going on in retrospect. Like, so let me get into the story so you understand what I'm saying a little better, right? It was the summertime, and I remember it specifically because my brother, I got him. He gonna come up on one of my subsequent stories. The story after this, he gonna be he was pivotal in what we call pay to play back then. Whereas if you was a homosexual on the prison yard, or you was somebody indulging in homosexual activities on the prison yard, which we thought was a direct violation of man's law and the law of nature, right? I mean, who are we to judge? But at the time, that's what we was going through, right? This is how we was governing the yard. This is how we was keeping brothers who say they were stand up out of bull. If you say you stand up and you about that and you took an oath and pledge, you ain't hanging with no punks. You ain't indulging in activities with no punks. Now, I'm not a homophobe, but the thing is, in the prison environment, it's different. It's a whole different thing because you at a vulnerable state emotionally, physically, sexually, and otherwise. And if you ain't around solid dudes and you ain't solid yourself, you might fall to the wayside. Now, we rather not even put that temptation around our brothers, right? So that's the story that's coming up next with my brother my brother, we used to call Lucci X. I'm going to let him introduce you the way he wanted to be introduced to when we do that interview. So this particular day, Lucci out there, you know, I got a few other brothers out there. He don't mind being talked about, so that's my dude. And what we did was, it was a brother who was, I want to say, from West Africa. He had contracted either full-blown AIDS or for sure HIV. He for sure had HIV. Now, whether he had full-blown AIDS or not is still, some brothers don't remember. We may have some old heads that might remember specifically, but we don't remember. We just knew that this brother's cavalier attitude towards going home, back to the streets, and infecting as many sisters as he could possibly get his hands on or his penis on. It was disturbing to us, and we felt like he had to go. So you got to think, right? When we saying you got to go, it means that you got to get off the yard. You got to get yourself in check. You got to go ahead and, eradicate. We got to eradicate you, bro, because you ain't no good for the community. You got to understand also, we dealing with young men who are very militant just as well as they are spiritual. So the protocol is that you stay upright, you stay independent, and feel this African brother that I was speaking on, he had to go, and there was a vote amongst some of these dudes, like amongst the brothers, that said, okay. Now you gotta think, this is a touchy topic for me because I'm fully involved in my belief system at the time, right? And can't nobody question what I say I believe in at the time, not even my own family. So I was impressionable on certain levels, but I'm still a grown man, so I'm making decisions based on what I feel like I should be doing too, right? This dude had to go, and how it came down to me being the one to get rid of him, I'm going to retract from saying. I will say this much: when I was called to do so, I took up the flag to do so. Now, the play is like this, right? Now, if you ever been to GR Cotton, or you know anybody that been to GR Cotton, the way the yard was set up was you had 4 different yards at GR Cotton. You had a level 1, GR Cotton rather. You had level 1 that was up front. You had level 2, which was the TD side, which is TD stood for temporary dorm, if I'm mistaken. And I think I was in, I don't remember. I was in TD 6 or something. But let's think. So this is how it go, right? You got the TD yard. When you leave off of TDR going into the back 40, right to the left of that is level 4. Level 4 has got its own building, and it's got its own fenced-in yard with a hoop court and whatnot. And that was crazy. What's crazy about that is one of the first times I ran into my dude T-Row from the Jeffries. This is my man, good dude, man. He out and doing real good. I know he got a daughter for sure. I want to say a couple of daughters, but we got kids, man. Working dude now, retired from the streets. For real. Did a long bid, and he one of the first, like, matter of fact, me, him, and my man Jay Bull, maybe a couple of other dudes, but amongst us growing up, we some of the first dudes that left the projects to go do time. I ran into him at that level 4, and he was flabbergasted at me being incarcerated, right? But how it went was, you leave temporary side yard, you go past level 4, and it opens up into a back 40 towards the left corner of the yard. You go down, it's like a whole track. When you go into that further left corner, when you leave it out of TD yard, you got a baseball diamond, but you also got the opening, the entrance and the exit to level 3 yard. This particular dude that had to go, this African dude, whoever he was, he I don't remember his name, even like mention his name, right? But the thing was, this is how he gets on and off the yard. He usually got a schedule. Dude's been watching the schedule. They know today he coming up outside, right? Now, I'm there posted. We done already got the math. Like, okay, you got to do this. You got to do that. You need 2 pair of gloves. We're going to have a dude in rotation. Take a banger. Hold it like this. When the time comes, you whoop, whoop, whoop in this direction, in this part of the body. If you want to get him up out of there completely, do this. You want to get him off the yard, do this. Now, this was a situation where we wanted to get him off the yard. It wasn't like it wasn't a hit to kill him. It was a hit to send a message and to get him off his yard, right? And then send a message to the next yard that he got to get off that yard, to where he understood that you can't do nothing but run and hide, right? Our way of justice wasn't the best, but this was the way we knew how to do things when you were in that environment. And this is what were crucial things that need to be done at times, because you had dudes like that. Like, you got to think as vanguards of the community, thinking about the elderly, the kids, the children, the women, right? We thinking about protective measures, ways we can get home and protect these environments and uplift them and build them. We're not thinking about going home and infecting those sisters with no bull. We're not thinking about going home knocking these sisters up and being another baby daddy. We're not, we're thinking about going home and enriching the lives of those around us. So for this individual to be talking about going home and finding as many sisters, now you got to think about this, right? For every sister he infect, how much of that affects me eventually as a butterfly effect? You never know, right? And then you got to think, it's a lot of dudes that's putting batteries in my back because they know I'm a soldier. Now, I'm only doing 5 to 20. And this is why I say I forgave a lot of them brothers. And I know my man Skip didn't know nothing about this, right? Because he was mad at some of them brothers when he found out, about this situation. I never once, like I say, it's synonymous why I got this color on, right? I never once desired to put a battery in a young brother's back. So as I'm standing there, my heart is bracing and pounding. My heart pounding so hard, right, that I cannot even hear my own voice, let alone hear what's going on around me. I just know that when I see him, it's on sight. I know my mission. I know what we said we got to do to get it, right? So I'm standing there and I'm numb. I'm flushed, right? But I'm focused. And I'm thinking damn, this is it. If this don't go right, I'm a 5 to 20 going to turn to a long bid. I know far too many dudes, man. I know far too many dudes who should have been protected better in them situations. And brothers shouldn't have gave them knives, shouldn't have put batteries in their backs. And when they was already emotionally fragile and going through shit, they should have never put them brothers in situations to where they ain't never coming home when they wasn't doing shit for 7 years or 8 to 15 or 10 years or 12 to 20, right? And then what happens a lot of times is, man, y'all get a lot of dudes that get older and they've been legends forever, right? And you done heard the stories from your people. Now you doing time around them and you feel honored. And these dudes then got soft around the edges because they ready to go home. And rightly so, right? But they so ready to go home to where some of them will compromise your young ass and put you out there in the same and potentially end up in the same situation they in. So this is one of them stories. I was put in a position doing a 5 to 20 to where I could have never came home, right? Based on the decision of brothers I loved. So as I'm standing and I'm waiting for this dude to slide off on the yard, right? Heart pounding, sweating. My hands is real hot and sweaty inside these 2 pair of gloves, right? It get called off. Apparently he mouthed off to somebody in the unit or something like that, and he got popped on the way coming out the unit. Now you got to think, it's 2 things going on in my mind right now. One thing is relief, right? Let's be honest. One thing is relief for sure, because I'm only 2 years into a 5-year bid at this time. My first bid, had never left the streets before. I ain't never really been away from my core group of people, my family before, right? And the second thing was, what the hell happened? Because we ain't know what happened yet. I'm just like, damn, why I get caught? We done did all this planning, all this practice, all this. This how you do that. This how you do that. Pass it off. Dude gonna do that. You good. Start doing this. The blend in. We done did all this rehearsal, right, to get this dude together, right, for what we thought was the right reason. And then it just so happened somebody else got at him before we did. I ain't gonna say that whether it was one of us or not, but it was most definitely a good thing to me, because I'm not justifying violence. It was just that, I ain't gonna say the dude, I think he still was good after that. But it was just I think that men that victimize women, children, and elderly, or anybody really, I think that men that's particularly victimized the vulnerable and the weak deserve a punishment. And I'm not gonna say whether that's physical punishment or whether it's judicial, but I think they deserve to be punished. Let's go legal first, though, right? I don't really have a problem with seeing those type of individuals incarcerated. I'm gonna leave it at that. So I'm sitting there now after I done got rid of this banger and passed it on to one of my good brothers, and I'm thinking about everything that could have went wrong. But at the same time, so thankful that nothing did, right? And it just goes. And then when Skip heard about that, man, I say he was pissed, bro. And like I say, it was a bunch of other brothers there too. Jabbo X, Jabbo was my dude, real solid dude. Like I say, he grew up with Pops, and Pops got his own story. I might have to do a whole episode dedicated to the OG because I don't really talk about Pops too much because I know a lot of street dudes and legends know him, and it's like everybody ain't fuck with my Pops the way they said they did. So I don't really like to touch on some of that shit sometimes, right? I will say this, speaking back on the whole point of this episode is that, and then like if you catch any, like if you like what I'm talking about, man, please don't never hesitate to subscribe, to like, to comment, to share this content, to tap in with me at O_G_Kenny on all social media platforms, right? And to tap into the Don't Forget About Me TV and the Retired from the Street podcast family, because everything that I do is for everybody who need to hear these stories, bro. Some of y'all need to hear this, bro, because y'all think it's all glamorous, and y'all get in there and start. God forbid y'all go there. Y'all have these false senses of loyalty to people and big homies, and they putting batteries in y'all back to be on bullshit. Thank God I got saw through that. Through the grace of God, I got through that situation, right? The sad part about it was that I didn't look at some of my dudes that I looked up to the same way no more. And years later, when I got on a level 1 yard, man, this was between 2013 and 2015, right? I seen a lot of young bloods come in. A lot of young bloods come in, and like I said, was cutting shit, was jacking up their time. And dudes was putting batteries in their backs then. And I promise you, I never was the type of individual to say, come here, young dude, let me put a battery in your back. If you guys, like, I'll say this much. It came a time when it was like some child molestation some years later where we was like, hey, financially, yeah, let me get that about you. But as far as like jacking off your wreck by using them knives and doing that violence, same way as the streets. You start putting violence into play, then time get increased, shit get real scary, and you looking at something that you wasn't even prepared for at first, right? That battery in the back and them false senses of loyalty, man. You got OGs out here who supposed to know better. I got young dudes who done seen me over the years like, bro, give me a couple dollars, put me on. I'm not letting you sell no dope, dummy. I would never give you no money to go buy no dope. Or if I had a bag, give you no bag, asshole. To do what? To go jack your life off? To be on the first 48 telling on yourself and everybody involved? You know what I mean? Would never do that to y'all young dudes, man. So don't, when you see me on the streets, you see me out in society, and you hear these young dudes who's like, nah, bro, wasn't like that. Bro, I tell you to get the fuck on. And even in the penitentiary, I would talk to them dudes like, bro, take it from a dude who been here 3 times, man. It's my 3rd time when I ran through a lot of these dudes. Don't let nobody put no battery in your back, man. Don't have no false sense of loyalty to nobody who you know for sure you might not even see once you get home. You go in there, tighten up, man. Be to yourself. Work on self-improvement. Like I say, work on applying pressure to yourself so that you'll be a better diamond when you return back to the streets. I let people put a battery in my back, man, and it made me feel a way down the line. But I'm glad I smartened up and I learned to discern between who was my brother and who wasn't my brother, regardless to what flag they wore. You understand what I'm saying? I wouldn't care if they wore the same flag as me. If I ain't felt they was on my side, if I didn't feel like the vibe was right, I was questioning that vibe. I was questioning what side you was on. You understand what I'm saying? I love the fact that y'all keep tuning in. Y'all keep interacting with me. Listen, I can't answer all these messages that y'all be sending me, right? But I'm going to try. I'm going to try to get to them because I don't never want to be bougie. You understand what I'm saying? And I appreciate y'all engaging with me. OG Kenny, O_G_Kenny, retired from the streets. I appreciate y'all tuning in for me, man. I love y'all. See y'all next time.